Vice President Fielder, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me all right?
You can, thank you. We're waiting on Commissioner O'Donnell. Commissioner O'Donnell, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, good morning, everybody. Time is now 9:32 a.m. Today's date is, what is today's date? May 28th, 2024. This is the time and place of the regularly scheduled business meeting in the Montana Public Service Commission. We are in the Bollinger Conference Room of the Public Service Commission. I will call this meeting to order. Would my colleagues join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, colleagues. I would note for the record that Commissioner Pinocci, myself, and Commissioner Bukacek are present in the Bollinger Room. Commissioner O'Donnell and Vice President Fielder are participating remotely, and therefore we do have quorum. Montana Public Service Commission welcomes public comment on any matter that is on today's agenda or on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Montana Public Service Commission. As we always do, we'll call for public commenters in the room. Please come forward, state your name, who you represent, and we'll go from there. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, commissioners. My name's Nick Fitzmaurice. That's Fitzmaurice. I'm the Energy Transition Engineer at the Montana Environmental Information Center. Thanks for having me this morning. I'll keep my comments brief. This is on docket 2024-03-028, petition for rulemaking. Just wanted to state, as has been filed, but that Montana statute allocated 60 days after a petition for rulemaking is filed for the PSC to gather record evidence, at which point a decision must be made, and that has elapsed over a month ago. There's been further questions posed to petitioners. Petitioners would be more than happy to address those questions within a lawful rulemaking process, given the commission enacts rulemaking and submits a notice of proposed rulemaking. Currently, we're in process that is not contemplated under the law and are not comfortable operating within that. So we're seeking clarity and a decision from the PSC so we can move forward and collaborate in helping to answer all your questions. Thank you all for your time.
All right. Thank you for your comment this morning. Any other public commenters in the room? Other public commenters in the room? Seeing none, I believe Senator Molnar wanted to comment. Is Senator Molnar online? Oh, did we lose signal? Okay. All right. I just want to confirm, Commissioner O'Donnell, are you still on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Vice President Fielder, are you still on?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. We're having some technology problems here in the Bollinger conference room. All right. Any other public commenters online? Seeing none? All right. Last call for public commenters in the room. All right. Seeing none. Thank you for your public comment this morning. There are no changes to the agenda this morning, so we'll roll right into our action items. Action item number 1 is approval of the commission minutes for the week of May 6, 2024. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes? Commissioner Pinocci?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Bukacek has seconded. All right, we have a motion and second. Any changes, discussion of revisions to the draft minutes for the week of May 6, 2024? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner Panocci's motion to adopt the draft minutes week of May 6, 2024 as the final minutes from that meeting signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nope. Seeing no opposition, draft minutes are adopted. All right, Commissioner Fielder and Commissioner O'Donnell, the screen that I would use to otherwise see that you would like to speak is not working right now, so you'll just have to speak up if you would like to weigh in on a matter, if you would, please. Work session items.
Thank you.
Let's move to work session item number 1. This is a commission initiated matter. This is a discussion of updating our agency designated rule reviewer. We're here to consider appointing Amanda Webster as PSC's designated rule reviewer. Mr. Hamilton, good morning.
Thank you, Mr. President and Commissioners. The matter before you right now is ministerial and entirely internal. Montana Code requires every agency in the state to have a designated rule reviewer who is responsible for making sure all the elements of a rulemaking notice are satisfied. All the statutory elements, the requirements of that rulemaking notice have been satisfied for proofreading and for generally overseeing the rulemaking process. Of course, this commission, as the head of the agency, is responsible for conducting all rulemaking. This rule reviewer is just a staff member who's responsible for dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Our staff attorney, Amanda Webster, has shown a strong aptitude for the sort of skills that are required to be a successful rule reviewer. I think at this point, every attorney in the agency has had at least a short stint as the rule reviewer. So I would recommend at this point passing the torch on to Amanda, who can take over as the lead rule reviewer for the agency. Laura Wachowski would remain a backup rule reviewer in the case of Amanda's absence. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hamilton. I will move to have the agency appoint Amanda Webster as the agency's designated rule reviewer. Is there a second?
I will second.
Commissioner Panocci has seconded, and we have motion and second discussion.
I just want to say Ms. Webster is very professional, competent, hardworking, and pleasant to work with.
Excellent comments. Additional discussion? Additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of my motion to have the agency appoint Amanda Webster as the designated rule reviewer signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nope. Seeing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. All right, let's move to work session item number 2. This is docket 2024.05.051. This is Northwestern Energy. We're here to consider Townsend Propane Supply. We're here to consider an interim order for Townsend Propane's annual propane tracking adjustment. Speaking of Ms. Webster, are you the one heading up this discussion?
Good morning. My
Morning.
regulatory colleague, Grant Fink, will be presenting staff's recommendation.
All right, Mr. Fink, good morning.
Morning, President and Commissioners. As you mentioned, this is in docket 2024.05.051. You should have all received the draft interim order and application materials distributed last week. On April 30th, 2024, Northwestern Energy filed its annual application to adjust its propane supply rate. Today, we're discussing the interim rate to be effective June 1st. Northwestern tracks propane cost against revenues with a tracker period running from June 1st through May 31st and trues up any over or under collected deferred cost. The tracker period resulted in an over collection of $5,473. Northwestern proposes to amortize this amount at a rate of 0.01058 cents per therm based on the 12-month forecasted load. In addition, Northwestern proposes to decrease its propane supply rate to reflect its current supply contract prices, as well as propane plant usage cost and carrying cost. This will result in a reduction to the current supply rate. Collectively, the amortization of the $5,473 over collection and the decrease to the supply rate will result in a decrease for a typical residential customer using 55 therms per month of $20 $1.81 from the period of June 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2024. $21.19 from October 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. And $18.33 from April 1st, 2025 through May 31st, 2025. Staff would recommend approval of the interim order and allow staff to make non-substantive changes. With me today is Amanda, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fink. Amanda, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All right. Is there a motion? Commissioner Panochi.
I'll make a motion to adopt staff recommendations.
All right. Is there a second?
Second?
A motion second. Discussion?
Mr. President.
Vice President Fielder.
Mr. President, thank you. I'm sure the commission agrees. It's just always nice to see cost decreases, and it's been a difficult few years in the energy sector with price increases that are beyond the control of the commission. But happy to vote in favor of this motion today that will see savings of around $20 a month for the average natural gas user. So it's a good day at the commission, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you. Just a curiosity, Mr. Fink, in previous years, Northwestern has had several applicants to provide the propane. Last year, there was only one. Can you tell me, do you happen to know how many applicants there were to provide this service for the coming year?
Mr. President, Commissioner O'Donnell, in the application, I believe there were 9 applicants which submitted proposals.
Very good. That's a very healthy sign. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Additional discussion or questions? Additional discussion, Commissioner Panochi.
Wanted to clarify, Commissioner Fielder mentioned natural gas. This is propane. And I'm sure she knew that. Just wanted to clarify that. And there's a possibility of a natural gas pipeline going through the Townsend area. Is that correct?
Mr. President, Commissioner Panochi, I do not know if that's true or not true.
Okay. Just checking on that. Thank you.
Mr. President, I thank you, Commissioner Panochi, for the clarification. Yes, I did conflate the two forms of energy. I appreciate the clarification.
All right. Additional discussion? Additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner Panochi's motion to approve Northwestern's request for interim propane supply rate adjustment and to authorize staff to issue the draft interim order with any necessary clerical edits signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving right along here. Work session item number 3. This is docket 2021.12.136. This is West Corporation doing business as CenturyLink. We are here to further discuss the commission's investigation into the adequacy of legacy infrastructure operated by Quest Corporation and to consider authorizing commission staff to negotiate informally with CenturyLink regarding a resolution of this docket. Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. President and Commissioners. In your meeting materials for today, you have a staff memo and a draft notice of commission action, which, if approved by the commission, would authorize staff to engage in negotiations with CenturyLink to try to resolve this lengthy investigation and inquiry into the adequacy of CenturyLink's services in Montana. As you'll recall, on December 7th of 2021, the commission opened its investigation into CenturyLink, and shortly thereafter, CenturyLink filed its own application requesting a waiver of the commission's out-of-service rule. Those two dockets, those two separate proceedings, were consolidated into one because both of them would touch upon the adequacy of CenturyLink's services and on the reasonableness, the prudency of a waiver of any out-of-service rules for CenturyLink's infrastructure. At the commission's request on December 19th, 2022, CenturyLink submitted its proposal for resolution of this docket, which included a financial incentive for customers to switch off of CenturyLink's service. On March 24th of this year, the commission not March 24th, March 13th of this year, the commission rejected that proposal, along with a proposal of sorts from the Montana Consumer Council as well. On March 22nd, CenturyLink filed its motion for reconsideration, asking for the commission to, among other things, appoint its staff in an advocacy role to negotiate with CenturyLink, as had been done in a prior CenturyLink investigation. At this point, staff does recommend that the commission approve at least that narrow sliver of the motion for reconsideration by giving staff the authority to negotiate on behalf of the agency towards a resolution of this particular investigation and the request for a waiver of the out-of-service rule. Of course, any agreement that the staff is able to negotiate with CenturyLink, and should be clarified that there is no guarantee that this will result in a negotiated agreement, but if an agreement does come out of this, it would still be subject to the commission's review and approval. So it would not be preempting any of this commission's authority to decide at the end of the day what is right for this particular docket. It is a unique circumstance, admittedly. At least since I've been with the commission, there has not been a formal appointment of staff in an advocacy role. And CenturyLink has highlighted the fact that it believes the process up to this point has blurred the lines between advocacy and investigation and adjudication to the point where its due process rights have been implicated. Before the commission proceeds with the appointment, however, we do recommend that CenturyLink acknowledge that its request for advocacy staff in this circumstance is an invitation for the commission to further, I suppose, commit the alleged due process violation that CenturyLink is complaining about. So the notice does call upon CenturyLink to respond within a set period of time and acknowledge that when the commission appoints its advisory staff in an advocacy role, that CenturyLink is aware of what that means and that it will not be asserting any new due process violations as a result of that dual role of staff. So this is a complicated one. And because of that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. But at this point, the staff recommendation is to appoint staff for the purposes of negotiating with CenturyLink.
All right. Thank you for that excellent explanation, Mr. Hamilton. You do a fine job. All right, colleagues, I will move to authorize the commission staff, no particular staff named, might I add, as part of my motion, to enter into formal negotiations with CenturyLink to seek a resolution to this docket, but only on the condition that CenturyLink acknowledges that it's waiving any due process argument it may have. Is there a second?
Second that motion,
Point
Mr.
of
President.
information, Mr. President.
Hold on, Commissioner O'Donnell. So we have a motion and second. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Well, you said formal negotiations. That seems to imply is that accurate? That would seem to imply that the resolution of this by staff would have some standing, not what Mr. Hamilton pointed out was left to the commission.
Well,
Are these formal or somewhat informal negotiations
well, thank you for that question,
or
Commissioner.
discussions? I think it's
Commissioner
Yeah.
O'Donnell, if I may address your point. If
Thank
I
you.
use the word formal
Sure.
negotiations, it was error on my part. What my motion seeks to do is to have the staff enter informal negotiations. So just to clarify my motion.
Great.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you.
All right, additional discussion? I do have a question for you, Mr. Hamilton. As I recall, CenturyLink has filed a motion for reconsideration as to our prior decision in this matter, correct?
That is correct.
Have we, as a commission, issued an order on reconsideration?
Mr. President, Commissioners, no, you have not. We have waived the deadline for the commission to act on that motion for reconsideration, so it remains outstanding.
All right. And then just to clarify in my own mind, did CenturyLink request that the commission itself engage in these informal negotiations?
Mr. President, as phrased in the motion for reconsideration, it's a request for the commission to appoint advocacy staff to engage in the negotiations, not for the commission as a 5-member body or as any individual commissioners to engage in those negotiations.
Okay, but it is, I just want it on the record. It is the request of CenturyLink that our staff engage in these informal negotiations, correct?
Mr. President, Commissioners, that is my interpretation of their motion. I believe that that's clear in their motion, but to the extent that it's not, and that, staff is misconstruing what CenturyLink has requested, I will expect you would hear about that in the response to this notice of commission action.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Additional discussion or questions, Commissioner Pinochi?
Thank you, Mr. President. We approved several $100 million of improvement money. Is CenturyLink getting some of that money, and are they making some improvements across my district?
Mr. President, Commissioner Pinochi, I may need to call upon my regulatory counterparts here in the room to help answer what federal money CenturyLink may have bid into and received as part of the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, the now completed Connecting America Fund Phase 2, or BEAD money. Mike, could you help me out here?
Good morning, Mr. Dalton. Please identify yourself.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. President. My name is Mike Dalton. I'm a rate analyst here at the commission. Commissioner Pinochi, I don't know that I can answer that sitting here right at this moment, but I'd be happy to check following this meeting and get back to you, if that's all right with you.
Thank you. I think that my ratepayers are looking to see if improvements are underway. I believe they are, with hundreds of millions of dollars approved. I'm hoping fiber optics is being installed in areas where we have the old copper line, and new switches are being put in, and I'm hoping that they're taking part of these improvements across my district, and my ratepayer would love to know if in fact that's happening. Thank you. No more questions.
Discussion or questions? Discussion or questions? Mr. Hamilton, I would just phrase as a reiteration of the point I think that Commissioner O'Donnell made, a question that it is correct that any negotiated settlement in this matter that is done by commission staff would still be subject to the approval of the commission itself, correct?
Mr. President, Commissioners, that is correct. For what it's worth, my understanding of CenturyLink's request is for this to proceed the same way that the last commission investigation into CenturyLink went, where staff was appointed to serve in that advocacy role. Staff did sign an agreement with CenturyLink reflecting a proposal for the resolution. But by the terms of that agreement, as with every settlement agreement that's presented to the commission, it is contingent upon commission review and approval.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner Pinochi's motion, I believe, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Was it?
Aye.
Aye.
Was it mine? All right, just to clarify the record, it was mine. I was an aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, motion carries. I apologize to everybody for confusing who made the motion there. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Dalton, appreciate it. All right. Work session item number 4. This is docket 2024.03.028 MEIC et al. This is acting on the petition for adoption of new rule and declarations pertaining to the commission's consideration of the adverse climate impacts of greenhouse emissions. This is a commission initiated matter. We're here to consider acting on the petition for Since this was requested by you, Commissioner Bukacek, I am going to give you the opportunity to, well, this is very unusual. The only way that this can come before the commission is for you to make a motion, and then you can explain what you're doing if you have a second. Commissioner Bukacek.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that because it's short enough that I think everybody's read it and understand it. So I can just make a motion.
Yes, you can.
I make a motion to approve the denying the petition for rulemaking and directing staff to prepare a written order.
All right. Is there a second? Is there a second of the motion? Seeing none. Motion fails for want of a second. All right.
I have some prepared comments, even though it didn't get a second. May I make those comments?
No, you may not.
I'll make them available to the commissioners and to the public. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Let's move to work session item number 5. This is a commission initiated matter. This is a litigation status update. This is a matter to have the commission receive an update on currently pending litigation and to discuss litigation strategy. This portion of the business meeting will be closed to the public. And to that end, I would note that the presiding officer of any meeting may close the meeting during the time discussion relates to a matter of litigation and or litigation strategy. And the presiding officer, which is me in this case, determines the need to protect agency litigation decision-making and discussion exceeds the merits of public disclosure. The upcoming closed session will involve discussions and decision-making related to ongoing agency litigation in which the agency is involved as a party. And accordingly, as the presiding officer of this meeting, I am going to close the rest of this meeting to the public. I would note for the record that upon adjournment or upon conclusion of consideration of work session item number 5, this meeting will be adjourned. But before I do that, I would just note for the public record, for those that pay attention to these things, the commission business meeting that would otherwise be held Tuesday, June 4th at the regular time, we will not be having one. So the next time we will be meeting is Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. All right, commissioners, why don't we adjourn to the commission conference room? And we'll pick up at 10:10. The time is now 9:58, so it gives about 12 minutes to adjust. All right, we will move to closed session.